Good morning, Hoop fans. Welcome back to the Hoop Express. Today's July 3rd. Hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July weekend and are all excited for tomorrow's big day, 4th of July. And my Canadian friends, I hope you enjoyed your Canada Day. Now let's get started. I want to start off the show by sending out my deepest condolences to the Blue and Bowie family. And I want to say rest in peace to Iris Bowie. I was fortunate enough to be in Los Angeles this past weekend and spend some quality time with the Bowie family. It's really been a really tough month for all of us here at the Hoop Express. There have been two very big tragedies, but the show will go on, and expect a lot of episodes every week, every couple of days each week during the summer. You think that since the NBA Finals are over and LeBron is king, and all is finished. But there are the Olympics this summer. There was a great NBA draft just the other week, last Friday, with Anthony Davis going number one in that draft. Free agency talks began July 1st, and signings will be July 11th. There's been big trades, Dwight being Dwight. As usual, the future of Deron Williams is up in the air. Even Ray Allen is in question. And of course the Olympics, if I didn't already mention that before. So let's get started. The biggest news of yesterday was an agreement reached between the Atlanta Hawks and the New Jersey Nets that would send all-star forward Joe Johnson to the Atlanta Hawks. He's the all-star shooting guard to the Atlanta Hawks. In return for some expiring contracts, such as Jordan Farmar, Johan Petro, Anthony Morrow, Jordan Williams, along with Deshaun Stevenson via sign-and trade. All of this is pending on what Deron Williams decides to do. However, one source indicated that despite what Deron Williams decides, that the trade is going to go through regardless. Brooklyn is in a very questionable situation with what's going on. They are very, very under the cap and have been for some time, and they have the ability to have a little bit of fun this summer. They already signed Gerald Williams to a 4-year, $40 million contract, and people really are starting to forget how good he actually is. He's in the caliber of a Joe Johnson. Not quite as good, but he's certainly up there. They have the ability to sign Deron Williams and do a trade with Orlando to land Dwight Howard and have Deron Williams. That's a big three that can contend with any other big three in the NBA. With swingman at Gerald Wallace, maybe the 6th man of the year nominee already. And they're holding on to their draft picks. Now also, the Nets would have to... the Dwight deal would have to involve many draft picks, but when you're going to be that good, you're not really too concerned about draft picks. So a lot of things could be happening in Brooklyn. Deron Williams is expected to make his decision today. Steve Nash is another big name that's out there. Toronto's reportedly offered him a 3-year, $36 million contract. A few other teams, such as the Suns, of course, along with the New Jersey Nets and the New York Knicks and the Orlando Magic, have all expressed interest as well in that trade. So there are a lot of things that could be happening there. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. Laker fans, it's not looking like our summer already. We're almost out of the runnings for Dwight Howard. However, that is a very, very interesting situation. No one really knows how it's going to play out, because after Dwight being Dwight, got the GM and the coach canned. Now he, after promising to stay throughout next season, is already telling the new GM that he met with yesterday that he would like to be traded to the Nets. So he's really dictating his own future, and if the Nets don't get him this year, it's almost certain that they're going to get him next year. So we'll have to really see what happens. Then again, he is Dwight, so you never know. If he goes to Los Angeles or he goes to Dallas, he could be very happy. Dallas is a key factor in this. They did a lot of interesting things on draft night. They had 4 first-round picks, and they traded for a few of them. and it appeared as if they were rebuilding around Dirk. However, they're in the talks of Deron Williams and Dwight Howard. So if there could be a very good big two there in Dallas, perhaps even if a miracle happens, who knows, maybe a big three, then Dallas could get right back to where they were in 2011. So a lot of interesting things happening in the NBA right now. Of course, Anthony Davis was selected first overall in the draft last week. The Lakers had the 60th pick, and they also bought the 56th pick from the Dallas Mavericks, Darius Odom. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. Lamar, of course, went to the Clippers, which is kind of, very untasteful, but he had to do what he had to do. I read an article by Bill Plaschke of the LA Times recently talking about Lamar's struggles last season. Now listen, I know Lamar has had a very, very tough life, and I love the guy. He's one of my favorites, and I didn't at first, but he really, really brought a good name to himself in the last few years with the Lakers and proved, Sixth Man of the Year. It was very, very impressive to see. The thing is about Lamar is he's a professional athlete, and I know the son dying of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and his grandmother, his mother, his father all being dead, and being robbed at gunpoint in New York. I understand his past, but this past season was Lamar being Lamar. It had nothing to do with anybody else. He was traded. The trade was vetoed. You go on, you continue to play. Pau Gasol continued to play his game. He played just fine. He's been the center of trade talk even to this day. But he is still playing for his heart out for the Lakers. And that could be questionable, but he's still playing nonetheless. Lamar demanded a trade, and he went to Dallas, and he wasn't happy in Dallas. And he has reality shows going on and everything that could possibly distract you. And it's been distracting him. And he was not happy in Dallas. And the reigning Sixth Man of the Year gets cut from the roster the following season. Doesn't contribute whatsoever to that team. Just a terrible fit. And demands to come back to LA, and the Lakers aren't going to take another chance like that. Again, it's just out of principle. So the Clippers worked out a deal and had Lamar sent back over there. So it'll be probably even weirder for Lamar to be playing in a Clipper jersey. However, that's vintage Lamar. He did play for the Clippers to start off his career. So I'm happy for him, but I'm not happy how he handled the situation in the past the past 12 months to 14 months. So we're really going to have to see what happens there. That's a good fit for the Clippers. Ray Allen has also been flirting with the Clippers, as well as the Miami Heat. A few other teams, such as the Timberwolves and the Knicks, they've also expressed interest in Ray Allen. Most people think that it's going to be between the Clippers, the Heat, and, of course, the Boston Celtics. So we'll have to see where that goes. To be quite honest with you, I couldn't really see him leaving Boston. However, I'm really not sure with all the crazy things that have been happening this summer. The Clippers would be a suitable fit for him because he would be a starter there, whereas in Boston he would probably come off the bench, and in Miami he would most certainly come off the bench. I don't think Dwayne Wade is going to reduce himself to a six-man role. So we'll really have to see what happens there. It's going to be very, very interesting. There was another trade yesterday that the Hawks made with the Utah Jazz, sending Marvin Williams, his large contract, over to Utah for Devin Harris. Now I'm confused really why Utah did this trade. Deron Williams, if people remember correctly, 3 years ago, he was balling. He was one of the best point guards in the game. When Dallas gave him up to New Jersey, he had a very, very good run with New Jersey. So we'll really have to see what happens there. He was part of the Deron Williams trade to begin with, so we're really a lot of interesting things happening in the NBA. That trade is certain. The Joe Johnson trade is almost certain, and we'll have to see how that plays out today. Today should be a pretty big day. Very disappointing for us Laker fans that there really hasn't been much talk of us anywhere. and our full mid-level exception is only about $3 million. The Lakers have not made a push for Steve Nash. They're very focused on Howard, but it's almost clear that Howard does not want to play with Kobe, does not want to play in Los Angeles. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And why was Jim Buss not hounding the Hawks for Josh Smith? They could have offered better pieces to the Hawks. Excuse me, I'm all over the place today. The Josh Smith trade with Pau Gasol seemed to have only been rumors. Why didn't Jim Buss make a push for Joe Johnson? They could have offered better things than Jordan Farmar and Petro and Morrow and Jordan Williams, even Deshaun Stevenson. The Lakers could have thrown in Meta. Maybe they could have thrown in Steve Blake. But if let's say they only threw in one of those guys, they certainly could have thrown in Josh McRoberts, Troy Murphy, a few draft picks, maybe Darius Morris, and they could have gone on. So I don't really know what's going on in the Laker organization. I think Jim Buss is making a lot of mistakes, and he's young. I hope that he could follow in the footsteps of his father a little bit more clearly than he is doing now. Bynum is his pet project, so I really don't see a Bynum for Howard swap, even though a lot of people are thinking that that's a very, it would make a lot of sense. So we'll really have to see what happens. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. The Olympics are coming up. Very excited for that. USA is going to have a push for the gold medal again, and a very obvious favorite. The second one maybe would be Spain. There are a few contending countries in there, but you can almost guarantee it's going to be United States versus Spain in the basketball. Basketball really emerged as the second most popular sport in the world. A lot of people argue that it may be football, but ever since the Dream Team in the Olympics and the Redeem Team, basketball has really made the surge to be the number 2 sport. And it would be nice to see it go up to number 1 if soccer ever, took a little dance down or maybe went on strike like hockey and baseball are notorious for doing. But don't expect that to happen, Hoops fans. So we'll have to really see what happens. Deron Williams, where's he going to go? I don't know. Neither do you. We'll wait and see. My analysis of the Hawks' 2 moves, I think that it's obvious that they're trying to rebuild. And Danny Ferry in his first 2 weeks, 1 week plus as the GM, has really made a push to rebuild. I don't know what they're trying to do. If there's somebody out there that nobody else knows about, or if they want to just save up cap for somebody who is going to be coming off the books in the next year, maybe 2, maybe even 3. We'll have to see there. The Hawks had a nice little core going on with Josh Smith and Joe Johnson, but it wasn't enough to contend. It certainly wasn't. I think maybe they should have tried making a push for Deron, if that's the case, because a Deron fit with the team constructed the way that it was before, it would have been much better than a Nets team. However, the Brooklyn Nets are really making a push, and they could either be the next big 3 in the NBA, or they could just be a Joe Johnson-led team, which isn't a bad option either. It's better than the 22-44 mark that they had last season. We can all be certain about that. So we'll have to see what is going to happen. Anyway, folks, that's all the time for today. I want to thank you guys for being faithful and all the likes on Facebook, and I hope you guys all took the time to watch this episode. I think it was a good episode, and better things are coming. We do promise that. Danny will be back in town in the next week or so, and we should expect a great show from him as well. That's all the time, Hoop fans. Hey, listen, have a very good 4th of July, and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.